Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hey there, Kevin. I'm Ralph behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And Ralph, you know what? We have been on a kind of a pie kick lately.
Yes.
We've been making a lot of pies because we've been making a lot of pie crust. And so
we've been getting a lot of good ideas for pies recently from friends and places we've been traveling to.
And we've got some friends coming up for dinner tomorrow. And so I wanted to make a pie for dessert. And so this is actually sort of a hybrid. It's kind of a part pie, part cookie.
Okay.
This is basically a Toll House pie.
Yum.
So think of the classic chocolate chip cookie, right?
Right.
But in a pie.
Okay.
You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay.
100%.
So, here's what we've got. We're going to start with butter.
How much?
This is a stick and a half of butter. Okay. Of butter, and it's been softened, okay, to room temperature. And I've got a half a cup of regular granulated sugar here.
Gotcha.
And I have got a half a cup of light brown sugar. And remember, when you measure your brown sugar, you always pack it into the measuring cup, right?
Right.
We're going to add a half a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So this is going to kind of make our base here.
Okay.
Okay, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and we'll fire up the old mix master here, and we'll get it going. So you really kind of want to cream this. You know, we do this for other recipes. You want to get it until it's really the sugar and the butter. It's important to incorporate those things and get them nice and fluffy.
So your fat and your sugar.
Exactly.
Sweet and fat.
So, sweet and fat. I've been called that. All right, here. We're going to keep going here. Now I'm going to let this run for a minute, but you can see what's happening. You see how that's getting nice and fluffy?
It's coming together very nicely, yeah.
So let me run this for another minute until it's really light and fluffy, and then we'll come on back and do our second step. There we go. You see that? Nice and fluffy. Now, we're going to add our eggs. I got 2 eggs. And we talk about this too. Whenever you're baking and using eggs, they should be at room temperature. So leave them out for half an hour. That's usually enough time. Or if you're in a rush, you could put 2 eggs in a bowl like this and just fill it up with water. Just
room temperature.
Room temperature water, like out of the tap. And in 5 minutes, it'll bring those eggs up to room temperature. So they blend better when they're not cold, when they're at room temperature. So we're going to put our 2 eggs in here and get that incorporated. So far, pretty easy, huh, Ralph?
Yeah, pretty easy. Even I could do it with a hand mixer.
The stand mixer really comes in handy, and we're putting into service one of our favorite mix masters here from the later 1950s.
From the science fiction film Fantastic Planet.
It does kind of look like a rocket ship, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a great design.
I love this one because this one's chrome. Although they had them in all kinds. They had them in the 50s. They had them in white, of course, which you see very often. But they had them in pink and yellow and this beautiful seafoam green. And we have a lot of friends who collect mixers, and they have some of those fun colors. Okay, these eggs are pretty much good here. Okay, so that was 2 eggs. Now our next ingredient is flour, and I'm going to check my recipe. Yeah, 3/4 of a cup of flour. So let's put that in there, and that will tighten up this batter a little bit. So it's really, it's almost the same as making a cookie dough. Yeah. So we start at low speed so we don't have a
explosion.
Yeah, and I Love Lucy moment here with flour flying everywhere. We'll get that flour worked in. And remember, we scrape with our spatula to get everything incorporated. While this is doing that, let's show our friends the pie shell that we're going to put it in. So this is just a standard 9-inch pie plate here. I've got it lined with our pie pastry.
And you can find out how to make a nice pie shell on some of the other episodes.
Yeah, we made a lot. I think the last one that we showed making the pie pastry was the...
oatmeal pie?
No, I think it was the rhubarb pineapple pie.
That was
good. It was last month, I think. Okay. This looks good to me. Okay, so now what I've got here is our final two ingredients. I've got 6 ounces, which is about a cup, of semi-sweet chocolate chips. These are the minis. I kind of like those. I like how they melt. You could certainly use the regular ones. If you didn't like semi-sweet, you could use, they make them in milk chocolate, but I think the semi-sweet is nice because it sort of has that dark, little bit of that bitter. And then this is a cup of chopped walnuts. You could also use pecans if you wanted to, or if you
want to omit the nuts.
Omit nuts completely, feel free to do that.
But the walnuts do give it a particular flavor that adds to the
cookiness and texture.
And the texture, yeah.
So what I'm going to do is let me just clean these beaters off here. And then what I'm going to do is using my spatula, and we'll come back, I'm going to stir those in. I'm not going to stir them in with the mixer because I don't want these to get chopped up any smaller or those to get chopped up any smaller. And sometimes when they get caught up in the beaters, they get broken up more, and I don't want that. So we'll just mix that in by hand.
We'll be right back.
So here's basically our batter or filling. Okay, so we're going to add our semi-sweet chips and our walnuts. Now, we were talking earlier, Ralph, about, how finely you might want to chop your walnuts up, or your pecans if you're using those. And I like about that size because I like the nuts to be visible so that you can, when you have your cookie, or in this case a pie, you can say, oh, look at all those walnuts.
Right, you can actually crunch into them and bite into them, get a heavier texture.
If they're too small, you might taste them, but you don't necessarily kind of know that they're there. The presence isn't quite as pronounced. So, okay.
So that's
let me just stir that in. All right, now we're gonna put it in here. Let me get a better grip on the. By the way, the oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Okay. What are we listening
Cookie
to?
Pie. It's a record I just picked up for $1 this past weekend. It's
like the price.
Instrumental rock, oldies rock instrumentals. This is Raunchy by Bill Justice.
Great. Okay. So this is going to cook or bake, I should say, for about an hour. All right, let's just spread this in the shell here. It will puff up a little bit and then it will drop back down, just kind of like cookies do.
Cookie pie.
Just try to get it sort of even. Okay.
Oh, is there going to be any type of topping on that, or is that just the way it...
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so it browns on... Does it create any type of liquid, or,
No,
like a
it's
sugary...
it doesn't have like a fruit pie that kind of has a syrup on the inside. Right. This doesn't. Remember, we're really making a cookie inside of a pie shell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they
so
do have
a certain.
be
a very firm.
They have a certain
kind of
moisture,
filling.
don't they?
It should, yeah, but
Okay.
it's not going to be
Liquidy or
Exactly.
syrupy. Okay.
syrupy.
More like a pecan pie, maybe.
So I'm gonna put it on. I use this old
Right.
pizza pan for my pies. I like it because it helps if things spill over. Although that shouldn't be a problem with this pie. But it also lets the hot air go through. That was almost pie overboard, wasn't it?
Almost.
Okay. Okay, it's been about 55 minutes. So not quite an hour.
Smells like you've been baking cookies in here.
It smells. Ralph, doesn't it smell like that? It totally
Yeah.
smells like cookies in this kitchen.
Looks
Wonderful
like
smell.
Looks like a big cookie.
Now what we're gonna do, Ralph, is I got a toothpick here, and we're gonna put that toothpick in, and if it comes out clean, then I think it's good. That's just melted chocolate. Do another test. Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, so didn't I hear you say that pies and cookies even continue to bake a little bit when you take them out, so you kind of factor that in?
Yep.
But you think this is pretty much
Yeah,
ready?
it seems great. It seems just fine.
Okay.
So we're gonna I'm gonna take it off there. I got a cooling rack here. We're gonna let it cool, and we'll have it for dessert tomorrow. Yeah, I know. We gotta wait.
Shoot.
I know.
Ah,
It's the worst.
sugar.
So we'll look forward to enjoying this pie with our friends.
Maybe we'll film it tomorrow when we're cutting
But-
into it.
Yes, or if not, you know what? There it is, the Toll House pie. We had such a great time baking this and putting it together. Hope you had a great time being with us, and you know what? We'll see you next time.
It always
right
feels
here
like you're with us.
on Cavalcade of Food. Bye,
Bye, everybody.